Hey guys, in today's video I want to show you an objection handling technique that I've been using for decades, and I call it the Universal Objection Circle. Regardless of which prospect you speak to, sales objections is unavoidable in every sales process. We can either choose to give up on the deal or we can push further by tackling the crux of the issue. More often than not, financial advisors often neglect the importance of this objection handling process and end up losing the deal. Hi, my name is Dr. Sanjay Tolani and I have been in the industry for 16 years. Like you, I have met many countless objections from my clients. I've been asked so many times, Dr. Sanjay, how do you get over objections? Dr. Sanjay, how do you manage questions that clients demand from you? You see, being in this business for the last 18 years and being a member of MDRT for 16 years now, as well as being a top of the table member, did not just happen by accident. It's about making sure that you have the process that identifies what you do, and in this video I will share with you one of my secrets and thought processes that I follow. A lot of people have been asking me, Dr. Sanjay, how do I be part of this mentoring family? Now you can join the mentoring family by clicking on the link below. One of the most important things we're going to discuss is understanding what I call UOC, which is Universal Objection Circle. The Universal Objection Circle is primarily broken into four parts. Now, the four parts are, first of all, you got to acknowledge. It's making sure that you first acknowledge that there is an objection. You see, a lot of clients get upset when we don't understand where they are coming from. So it's about saying the words, I actually understand where you're coming from, and acknowledge that there is an objection. Learn to understand from their perspective and acknowledge what they are saying. Then is ask. The next step that is very important is asking the right questions. Now, when you ask these questions are either to address a particular fear or to address a particular concern. This helps to plant the seeds of doubt to get the customer worried about that situation. The next would be solution and example. Once you have asked the right questions, the most important step after that is providing a solution with an example. If you don't provide an example, most commonly an analogy, people may not be able to understand what you're trying to say. So break it down into something very simple and relatable to them, and that is very, very important. The next step is to make it relatable. Now, the fourth and the most important step is making sure that this example is relatable. Can they relate to the example on an everyday basis? Example, if I'm talking to a client and they don't understand or relate to that example that I have provided, that objection continues to remain. So if you do not have an example that they can relate to, you will never be able to get over that objection. Let me show you some examples on how we apply the Universal Objection Circle.
Hey guys, in this video I want to make sure that I recover what is the Universal Objection Circle, because what I've realized is a lot of you have not been able to understand how this works. When you're sitting with a client, you need to first acknowledge the way they have asked you an objection. If they tell you an objection, first of all, learn to understand from their perspective. A lot of clients keep complaining that we don't understand their perspective. So you need to acknowledge how and what they are saying. For example, something as simple as, I'm glad to know that this is of concern to you, or I'm glad to know that this is the strategy you think of, or you know what, I understand where you're coming from. It allows them to feel that you have acknowledged them. The next thing is making sure you ask the right question, because if you don't ask the right question, you will not get the response that you require. The third most important thing is making sure you provide a solution or an example that they can actually refer back to, an example of somebody else doing what you have just told them to do. That example needs to then be relatable, because if they cannot relate back to that example, they will not take the call of action that you expect them to. So you got to make sure that the example that you're giving them, they can relate to. So that relatable example or that relatable question will allow them to make that decision. That's the Universal Objection Circle. Fantastic. What's your second question?
Okay, second question is for income protection.
Yeah.
So let's say the objection is, I'm well covered by my company.
Fantastic. I'm so glad that your company loves you so much. However, let me ask you a question. Are you married to your company? You see, what has happened is, if you fall sick, you might lose your job. And when you lose your job, you might lose your coverage. And if you lose your coverage, you cannot buy one at that point of time. So I always recommend, don't be dependent on a third party like a company or a government. You need to learn to be self-protected. So whatever your company has done, that is an additional coverage. That is not your primary coverage, because you're not married to your company. And especially in today's generation, you know how companies come and go, recessions, they just fire people. Overnight, you could lose your coverage. Why do you want to be left dry when it's raining outside? Yeah? So just make sure your primary coverage is your personal coverage. Whatever the company gives you is an additional coverage. This is on page number 37 in the objection playbook. It's the most common objection that I get, because most of my clients are CEOs, CFOs of big big companies, where they get free medical card and they get free income protection and they get all these free stuff. And I tell them only one thing: today you're CEO, tomorrow you're not, then what?
I am the owner of the company.
Fantastic.
So I will not fire myself.
So, correct. If you're the owner, do you want that company be burdened by your losses? So why not always have an asset that's outside the company so that your company continues to run? You see, this is income replacement for the company. We need to replace you. You are the owner. Who can replace you? Nobody. So at least 5 years of income, the company doesn't have to pay you. They can reinvest back into their business, and I will pay the income to your family. So let's let the company grow itself even when you're not there.
Thank you.
Does that answer?
Yes.
Now I hope you understand how to apply the Universal Objection Circle. I want you to spend time practicing it. Remember, practice makes perfect. Once you understand the concept behind the Universal Objection Circle, you will be able to handle any objections that you come across. If you are wondering, is there any objection handling script? Well, I have some good news for you. I've actually documented all 37 types of common objection faced by financial advisors in my bestseller book, The Objection Playbook. I even include the step-by-step script on how you deal with them. In this book, you will also understand the difference between cold leads, warm leads, and hot leads. Understand the process of how a lead becomes your client. Learn about the 18 financial tips that you can value add to your clients. And lastly, you will even learn retirement strategies and its technical aspects. This book is specially written for my mentoring family. Having been in this industry for 16 years, I have a unique view on what works and what doesn't in the financial planning world. And I hope that I can document down everything I know so members in the mentoring family can leverage on my knowledge and shortcut their path to success. If you are interested to find out more about this book, you can click on the link below.